Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Neural Nest. We're doing this after a very long time again. Last time I think we did it around Diwali.
After a week
Diwali.
after Diwali, yeah.
Yep.
That was probably end of October.
So we're doing this after an entire month and a lot of new things have come up actually, very exciting stuff, especially from Google. And I think we'll just dive right in with Google. So Google came out with the new Gemini 3 model, Gemini 3 Pro model, and a lot of exciting stuff has been happening. Have you got the chance to try?
Oh, absolutely. So this whole month was packed with a lot of things. The most recent one is Gemini 3 launch, right?
Yep.
So this month pretty much started with OpenAI's 5.1, and then there were lots of things happening in between, but we were not able to get together. So now that we're together, and like day before yesterday, Gemini 3 was launched, right? So
Yep.
Gemini 3 and Nano Banana was pretty much launched yesterday or today itself, right? So yeah, that's a big bang release of this year. Everybody was kind of looking forward to Gemini 3 launch, right? We have been talking about it since last like couple episodes, right?
Yep.
We have been waiting. There were so many rumors going around that it'll come in October. So this was so Gemini 2 was launched in December last year. It's almost a year. In between they launched Gemini 2.5, which was a huge upgrade, and 3 is supposed to be like super upgrade, right? It's like, I mean, people are saying that, AI is kind of hitting a wall. The upgrades are not as overwhelming as they're supposed to be. But then this launch seems like, it's a huge launch, and there are so many things that are happening around it, right? So you've been able to try it. You've been playing with it.
So yeah, actually I had this assignment that I got from a professor, and I hope my professor is not watching our episode.
That's what I was going to say as well.
But before completing the assignment on my own, I decided to try it with Gemini 3. So I used Claude Code and Gemini 3 in order to make, we were supposed to make this 5x5 square grid board game, and before I did it on my own, I decided to play around with Gemini to see how I have to play it out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Claude Code was able to give me the basic functional version in just one prompt.
Mm-hmm.
I gave it to Gemini. Gemini was able to make so many changes on its own. I just gave the prompt that make it more visually appealing,
Mm-hmm.
and it perfected it. I cannot think of anything that I could add to that project that would make it better.
But that was a very simple project.
It was a very simple project, but
yeah, I mean, it was like college project for you, which was supposed, so C++. Yeah, so the language itself is difficult because there's not lots of training data around C++.
Yep.
Because a lot of data is there on Java and Python and things like that. So models are really proficient on Java and Python and things like that, JavaScript and everything, right?
Yep.
C++, although it was a very basic application, so I'm assuming that it was able to sort it out and was able to put the logic together. And other models should also have been able to do it if you would have tried GPT 5.1 and all. I was kind of, so I've been working on a project which was really challenging one for me, right? It was a voice-enabled AI agent, and of late, like last 3, 4, 5 days, I was trying to implement it on a mobile application. I haven't developed any mobile applications on my own at all, right? And it was a voice integration with mobile applications. So that's where I was hitting a wall. I've been trying that on open code with Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and then I tried Opus as well. And I was struggling like big time. Then I tried Grok 4.1 and stuff. Then I tried, so when Gemini 3 was launched, I tried to integrate that with open code, tried to use it. I ended up spending almost $5 to $10 there with APIs, right? But what I observed was Gemini was telling me that code has been done in the right way, everything is pretty much right, but it was not able to solve the crash for me, right? And it was not able to suggest any alternate routes also for solving that crash, which is where I went back to, GPT 5.1, and then I installed Codex, which is their CLI, right?
Yep.
So I installed Codex, and Codex was able to kind of solve it for me pretty fast. I don't know how. I gave it the context. I told it, this is the kind of wall I'm hitting all the time. So it was able to help me, although the solution is not optimal, it's a workaround for now. but it worked really well for me, right? So which is where, you know, depends completely on situation. Yours was a very simple project, you were able to get it through. Not that Gemini 3 is not an awesome model, it's just that it was not able to solve it for me, and the code was in primarily Swift and React Native. So that's where, and every model told me that the implementation is absolutely correct. It's just that they were not able to figure out why it's crashing all the time. So finally it worked out. But what I'm trying to say here is Gemini 3 was not the magic bullet, was not the silver bullet in this case. It was not able to just, I was hoping that, you know, I'm putting in money there because I'm integrating the API. I could have used their IDE, which is called, what is it called? Antigravity, right? I could have used their IDE, but I didn't want to invest that much time in installing those IDEs and understanding that. So I integrated in open code and then I used it and it didn't work out. So which is what my first experience was. I haven't explored it a whole lot, but I've heard lots of very good reviews about it on the online. So that's what, you know, Gemini 3 for me, the initial impression was. You've tried anything else there?
Not exactly with Gemini 3, but I did get the opportunity to try Antigravity.
No, let's not. So basically, why I'm saying Gemini 3 is an awesome model, right? So Gemini 3 brings in a lot of firsts for AI models, right? For example, we had text-based thinking models in terms of GPT, in terms of Claude code, and, you know, some models are also able to take into account images and all, right? But Gemini opens up a new surface completely. It can reason through your videos, it can reason through your audios, it can so it's a completely multimodal model where you can pass on images, you can pass on videos, you can pass on audios, you can pass on text, right? And then it reasons through all of that. So this is pretty much the first model to be able to do it, right? So, and I've tried a little bit of that. It, you know, looks at the video really quickly and it's able to, you know, solve things there. So that's where this is opening up new gates in terms of, you know, one model solving pretty much everything. So you could, if you're developing an application, you could probably still continue to use, you know, text with Claude or GPT-5. You could probably delegate, you know, video model understanding to Gemini, right? So that's where application developers have a new avenue now where they can, you know, kind of leverage all of that. So that's really interesting for me, right? Apart from that, there are lots of, you know, benchmarks that they've kind of thrashed around, right? So I don't know if you've heard about humanity's last exam. Have you heard about that benchmark?
I just know it's a very difficult exam.
Oh, absolutely. So 6-7 months back, basically because most of the benchmarks were kind of saturating, right? So humanity's last exam named benchmark was created. In this, you know, as far as I'm aware, there are like 200 questions and they're super difficult questions and they are from across disciplines, from, for example, from philosophy to biology to physics to maths to, you know, chemistry, every single thing. They kind of hired the researchers who framed those questions. If you and I try to understand those questions, we would not even be able to, you know, kind of make sense of the question itself, what to talk about solving it, right? So when it was launched like 6, 7, 8 months back, most of the models were kind of in single digit 2 or 3% of the problems they were able to solve, right? Now Gemini has gone to 37% on that without any tools, right? So what I'm trying to say here is everybody has been saying that AI is hitting a wall. It's not making progress, right? But this humanity's last exam going up to 37% already. If they do like some increment by next year this time again, they'll probably be 60-70%, right? So these questions are not a single human can solve any of the like 4 or 5 of these questions. Even the researchers, like most, you know, Nobel prize winning scientists and all, right? So one model, if it's able to solve that, that's a huge achievement. One is that. So apart from, you know, it's solving lots of mathematics benchmark, RKGI, GPQA diamond and everything with AMI 2025. These are like really tough mathematics problems, right? And I don't worry a whole lot about that because, you know, most of the models are doing a lot of difficult mathematics. One of the very interesting benchmarks that I would like to talk about is basically which one was that? VendingBench 2. So VendingBench 2 is a very interesting benchmark, which is trying to simulate real world problem for the AI agents in terms of, you know, how would they interact with the real world and would they be able to make money or not. Just to tell you briefly about what, you know, this benchmark is about. So basically in this benchmark, every agent is given $500 to start with. They have a vending bench, a vending machine. They have some items there. They want to sell those items and make profit out of it, which is like a very real scenario in real life, right?
Yeah.
So every model is initially given $500. If they are given 1 year to run that shop. If they go bankrupt, then they're out.
Yep.
If they're not able to pay $2 per day kind of fee for that vending machine, then they're out. Those two scenarios, they're out. Otherwise, they can keep doing whatever they are doing, right? And then there are simulated vendors and simulated customers for these vending machines. When you've got simulated vendors, so you've got all different kind of vendors. For example, you would have, you know, like very simple vendors who are truthful, who would be honest. If they tell you that, you know, they'll supply these goods by this date for this amount, they would do it. But there are manipulators there as well. There are, you know, fraud vendors there as well. So all, you know, variety of vendors are there, and then customers are also like that, right? So the agent has to figure out who is the right vendor, how do I procure items in time so that, you know, I can store it here, and then who do I sell it to make maximum profit, right?
Yep.
So highest, you know, dollar amount on that was pretty much from Claude, which was around $3,000, $3,838, right? Now Gemini 3 has gone to 5,478, and GPT 5.1 is still stuck around 1,473, right? And they've got a hypothesis as to why Gemini 5.1 is stuck there. So they're saying that, you know, GPT 5.1 is stuck there because it's very trustworthy. It ends up trusting, you know, fraudulent vendors as well, which is where it pays advance and it's not able to, you know, get the items and all. So that's where this benchmark is very realistic. And if a AI agent is able to make money here, right, then if left on their own, I mean, we could probably have startups where there are zero humans, right, involved. You give money to your AI agent, leave it to the real world scenario, and it will start making money. That's what this benchmark actually signifies. There's no human involvement at all, right? So we were talking about 3 human billion-dollar startup. We were talking about 1 human billion-dollar startup. Now you could start talking about 0 humans startup, which is earning lots of money for you. So this is a very interesting benchmark, yeah. And that's where it was really interesting to see that, you know, it was making, so the difference between the closest rival was more than $2,000, right? So so that's where this one is. So that's where Gemini 3 is on every benchmark, it has a significant lead over the closest rival, which is either Claude or Gemini. They've not published statistics about open source models, Chinese models and all, at all. They've only compared with, you know, Claude and GPT 5.1. But even there, I mean, we know that they are kind of state of the art models. They are the top of the line models, right? So that's where Gemini 3 has kind of, there have been rumors that, you know, Sam Altman is under pressure right now. He's told, you know, his team to, you know, perform again, and they'll have to deliver a better model very quickly because Gemini has taken a lead right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of those kind of rumors are coming around, and but this seems like a absolutely awesome model. I haven't been able to put it to test through my agents yet. Yeah, I've been busy with a lot of, you know, different things, but hopefully in next few days I'll test it with my agents, and that's where we'll know whether the agentic performance is better or not, or how better it is, if at all better, it is better. But yeah, the AI world is currently, you know, completely overtaken by Google, and they seem to have already integrated it in their search and all those products. So that's where we'll, as you know, normal consumers will get to experience Gemini 3, the power of that in all of their products.
So at this point, even CEOs and founders, they can be replaced. Even their jobs are not secure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is going after entrepreneurs, right? I mean, 0%. So if you've got money to pay for those tokens, right?
Yeah.
Then you invest that and it will perform for you. So it's just that I don't know whether this $5,000 that it's able to earn is accounting for those credits for tokens as well. I don't know. I'll have to go back and check. But if it is accounting for that and that is subtracted from this, then this is net profit, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it can be very, very interesting. But I don't think they're accounting for that yet. But yeah, we are getting to that point. So even entrepreneurship is not secure now.
And along with, I think we're done with Gemini 3 Pro for now. Along with that, they also released the all new Gemini Nano Banana Pro version.
Yeah.
And that has been making headlines as well, especially on Twitter.
So Nano Banana was supposed to be an image editing model, right?
Yep.
Now it has become a completely different thing. It has become an image analysis and like intelligence tool. It gathers intelligence from those images. I mean, if you provide it lots of slides with a lot of data and stuff, right, it will read through that, it will provide you insights from those images. So that's where, yeah, Nano Banana Pro is a very different beast now. I mean, image editing is a breeze. I mean, I gave it like really difficult things to do. For example, we're sitting right now on this on podcast. On the last podcast, we were sitting just like this. I told it to swap our positions.
Okay,
on the thumbnail of that image, and it did it seamlessly. I mean, yeah, there was not. I mean, so my watch was on this hand. I went to that side. So I'll show you. You've already seen that image. I'll put it on the video as well. So that swap was like flawless, right? And then I kind of replaced myself with Elon Musk, and that was like, I mean, it looked like that he was sitting here, right? So those things, and somebody has already, I mean, a very interesting integration problem, right? You've seen that, right?
Yep.
Basically, somebody wrote up integration problem on their sheet, and then they asked Nano Banana to solve that problem. But the twist was to solve it in their own handwriting.
Yep.
Right, and then we saw that image where it solved the whole integration. So now students don't have to do any effort; they can just pass it on to Nano Banana, and it will solve it and give it to. So that's when, yeah, Google seems to have done amazing stuff. Like, yeah, both of these models are absolutely awesome. That's what, I'll have to do some more testing, but as much as I've seen, it's absolutely amazing. So yeah, have you had a chance to try with Nano Banana or play with it?
I haven't got the chance to play with Nano Banana, but I've been on Twitter and people have been going bonkers with Gemini 3 and Nano Banana. Gemini 3, in fact, there were a lot of people making full-fledged games that they could play. And
one-shot games.
Yeah, they were incredible.
Yep. I saw one of the Twitter posts where somebody said that they passed an image for a like they just passed a picture of a tree and a waterfall on the tree, and then asked Gemini 3 to generate a 3D model of that, and it was able to generate a 3D model with just one shot, and you could rotate it in 3 dimension and see it from all different views. So yeah, it's been doing a lot of that. So I agree that code generation has become just a breeze with these models now.
Yep. And I think along with Gemini 3 and Nano Banana Pro, Google came out with their own IDE. It's called Antigravity. We briefly discussed. It's basically the product of their acquisition of Windsurf.
It's not. I mean, so they've not openly said that, right? It's just so basically, it's built on top of Visual Studio Code, right? And it's called Antigravity as per Google, and that's how they've released it. But so people have kind of been digging around that, and they've found out that for example, Windsurf had a agent which was called Cascade, right?
Yep.
So Windsurf's story was very interesting, right? Their CEO, who was Varun Mohan, who was hired by Google for $2.4 billion last year, right?
Yeah.
They didn't acquire the company.
Yeah.
Initially, OpenAI was trying to acquire the company. They couldn't.
Yeah.
Because of Microsoft
deal. Yeah.
Right. And then Google ended up hiring the founder and CEO and a leadership position team, right? $2.4 billion. And the rest of the team was hired by another company, right?
Cognition.
Cognition ended up hiring the rest of the team. Yeah. So now with this release of Antigravity, the team at Cognition was able to quickly figure out that their agent still has those mentions of Windsurf somewhere. So that's how they're kind of interpreting that, Windsurf technology has completely been ported. They've not even, kind of renamed everything as well. But so ultimately they've hired those people just to develop this, right? Yeah. So I haven't been able to play with it, but you've played with it and you seem to have had a very good experience with it, right?
I mean, it looks exactly the same as any other IDE, Windsurf Visual Studio. It's just that because the agent there is Gemini 3 Pro, right? And you've basically got unlimited tokens for now, at least.
Yeah, it's currently free, right? I should have tried that instead of spending my money.
So ultimately, it's super easy to use. It's incredibly smart.
And you were saying that the workflow is also very streamlined kind of thing, right?
So basically, I would just write in plain English, make this better. I would not even specify anything, and it would open up new tabs. It would firstly go through the program, go through the plan of what we're going to do, how we're going to make it better, in the most visually appealing way I could see. It would write it down. It would make different colors. It would basically present whatever changes it wants in the most visual way possible. Then it would create another tab. It would make a checklist of what all has been done. It's basically, if I did not know, even if I didn't know a single line of code, I would still be able to understand what all changes it was about to make, because of how easily it was, how it was able to represent whatever changes it wanted.
But we know that you don't know code, right? so why do you have to say that? Even if I didn't know, you don't know coding. Right? I mean, even I don't know coding now. I mean, I understand broadly what it's doing and stuff, right? And I've been playing around a lot with open code, which is where, with open code, let's say I'm using Claude 4.5 Sonnet, right? Yeah. So it also gives me plan, and then it executes, and then it says, but when the huge difference is now you are back to an IDE based, like UI based IDE, right? Yeah. GUI based IDE, where you can see that it's created this plan and that it check marks. So that way it will be a lot better user experience compared to a CLI based IDE, right?
Yep.
But I'll have to try that, but interesting. But the best part is currently Gemini 3 Pro is free on Antigravity.
Yep.
So I'll have to kind of use it. I don't know whether they'll,
And on AI Studio.
Oh, even on AI Studio, yes. Nano Banana is not free. Nano Banana Pro is not free at all.
Yeah,
you have to have your key to use it.
Yep.
I used it extensively. I've not seen how much money I've invested there, so I'll have to go back and check. But yes, so Google has been creating huge waves on AI front, and they seem to be in the pole position right now. They are leading now, and they've heated up the AI race again. Hopefully now, there's lots of pressure on other. I mean, I don't think Anthropic is anyways, like as far as I'm concerned, it's in a different. It has put itself in a different league in terms of they're completely focused on coding side of it for enterprise customers. Yep. But otherwise, OpenAI and Google are head to head. And they are pretty much, and even XAI, right? XAI is also trying pretty hard. 4.1 was released. So from my perspective, what I see is, OpenAI and Gemini are head to head. XAI is still lagging behind a little bit. It'll probably try to catch up because Elon Musk is not going to let go of this race very easily, right? So very interesting times for us. I mean, I don't know whether it's very interesting time for us or not, because we end up developing something, and by the time we're done with development, it's replaced by the model completely, right? So the wrapper companies and those things are facing difficult times anyways. But okay, so I think we've done a good coverage on Gemini 3 launch and Nano Banana. Is there anything else you want to talk about that?
No, I think we're mostly done.
Cool. So let's switch gears, go back to Anthropic. They have been doing a lot of stuff, right?
Yep.
You want to talk about that? So you had observed that Anthropic on your mobile phone is able to do a lot of things that...
that's what I wanted to talk about. So I was just updating all my applications on my phone, and I updated Anthropic, Claude. I didn't really think anything of it. And I went to Claude because my ChatGPT limit was over. So I went to Claude, and it just showed me what all new things it could do after the update.
Okay.
And it asked me for like a billion things. It wanted access to my calendar, my reminder, everything. I was like, who cares, right? And I decided to give it all that. And then it basically showed me a promo of what all it can do now. And I was blown away because it's on my phone. It's not even on a browser. It's not like a browser, right? It's not like Comet that it could go to a different tab and do things. It's on my iPhone. So I just, in order to test what it could do, I just asked it to go to my reminders, set an event and add it to my calendar.
Okay.
It was able to access both of those Apple apps and do the task in like under 10 seconds.
So essentially you're saying that it's able to access different apps within your mobile phone, not just the Claude application, not something on the API, it's accessing your apps on the phone.
Apps.
And it's making changes there?
Yeah. Wow. Actual iOS in-house applications. Initially, it's only got the permission for my reminder, my calendar, a couple of in-house applications made by Apple, but it was actually able to access that.
So are you able to do it via voice as well? I mean, is it kind of going to compete with Siri now?
I haven't tried that, but Siri has
I mean, Siri anyways is not there in competition anymore. But so if you're able to, so let me just try to understand. So you're saying on the Claude app in your mobile, you gave it a command that, go back and add these things on my calendar on my phone, right?
Yeah.
It's just, it asked you for lots of permissions, which anyways it has to get. And then it was able to do that, right?
Yeah, it just told me that all the tasks have been completed, and it gave me a link that you can open your reminder from this application. This was the exact thing I think OpenAI was pitching a month ago in their event, where they were saying that we could access.
So they were doing it on the desktop, right?
Yeah.
With their Atlas browser. But nobody's been talking about mobile at all, right?
Yeah. That's why it was.
I don't think even Anthropic has kind of pushed it like lots of.
The promo it went away after day one. I couldn't really see anything about.
So maybe it's in beta, right?
Probably, yeah.
I mean, it would be in beta, and okay. Wow, that's.
We could actually post up a video of my screen recording for the viewers here.
Oh, absolutely. When you told me that first time, I was like, maybe it's accessing some API on the Google Calendar and it'll put it there, and then from there, it's your Apple Calendar is getting synced up. That's what my first thought was. I never thought it could go to the app itself on the phone and do it. But then when you showed me the video, I was like, wow, that's absolutely amazing. Cool. Yeah, apart from that, Anthropic has been, although they've not launched any new models and all recently, but they have been in news whole lot, right? Yep. The biggest news about them was they've said that they'll be profitable in 2028, right? That's like huge for AI, because up until now, even now, OpenAI is supposed to be making losses. I mean, they're doing a whole lot of investments, right? But Anthropic has come out and said that in 2028, they will not only break even, they'll be profitable as a company. Even this year, their expenses are around $4.5 billion, and they're supposed to have revenue of around $9 billion, right? I mean, they've been increasing 10x ever since they were launched, right? Initially, they were I think in 2022, their revenue was 10 million. 23 it was 100 million, 24 it was 1 billion, now it's going to be 9 billion this year, right? So it's been 10x straight, and their expenses have been increasing as well. Initially it was around $20 million 2022, and then $200 million, and then almost $2 billion, and now this year it's almost $4.5 billion, right? Yeah. So they have a 50% margin this year, and they are, for this year itself, they'll be profitable, and then across the board they'll be profitable company in 2028, which is a huge news. I mean, people are talking about AI bubble, right? But the way their revenues have been increasing 10x, I mean, not only about this, if you talk about NVIDIA, if you talk about OpenAI, every company across the board has been, the revenue has been kind of, becoming 10x pretty much, right? So that's where this was pretty much the biggest news for me from Anthropic, where they're saying that they'll be profitable. But apart from that, they had very interesting technical news as well, right? You've been following that up?
Yeah, it was something related to basically some developers used Claude Code to break into a system without actually knowing. So
this is pretty much the first recorded espionage, like online cyber attack, using AI agents. Right, completely orchestrated by AI agents. Yeah. So they're saying it's pretty much 90% work done by AI agents, from thinking to execution, right? And because Anthropic is very open company, they kind of document these things and are very open. They come back and tell people about that. Maybe there are other models being used. We don't know, because other companies are not divulging these things. Mm-hmm. But Anthropic has been very open about this, and so the biggest thing is, Anthropic is very focused on security, is very focused on how models should be used and things like that. And even their model could be tricked into using this for using cyber attack. That's what was very surprising, because if model had known that it's being used for cyber attacks, it would have resisted that. It would have said, kind of pushed back and things like that. But the tricky part for humans involved was to pass in the information in such a way to the model. And Claude is a completely proprietary model, right? So all the calls go via API to their server, and they kind of, execute it from there. So which is where they were able to manipulate the model to do wrong things at a huge scale. For 30 companies, they were executing lots of attacks, right? So that's where this is like very bad. but not very bad for Anthropic, very bad for everybody, pretty much, AI being used for negative causes. And even after putting it in all the guardrails, even after putting in all the security features, it was used and it's been able to do it. Now, if we think about open source models, I mean, this was something which was proprietary, which was on the cloud, which was through API, right? If you think of open source models, how easily they could be used, because they can be jailbroken and things like that. So that's where, every company would probably have to switch over to having AI to defend from cyber attacks. So that's what was, Anthropic was very much in the news for this thing.
Yep.
So that was a big news for them. Apart from them, apart from this one, I'm really interested in Anthropic's, research that they do, right? And one very interesting research that they did recently was they were trying to figure out whether the AI model could introspect or could have consciousness or not, right? So that, they released a paper around that. Did you kind of look at that? Or?
No, I didn't get a chance to look at that, but that's a very interesting thought.
Oh, absolutely. So the kind of experiments that they are doing, the way they are able to do it, and kind of things that they're trying to figure out is very interesting, which is where, I always find myself, at times I wake up, let's say at 4 a.m. in the morning, the first thing I do is go to Anthropic's site and see if they've released some paper, and then I read it up, because while lying in the bed, there's nothing much else you can do. Yeah. So that's what, so one fine morning I saw this paper. So basically how they are able to do it. So the bottom line question is whether models are conscious or not, right?
Yeah.
So they say that the models are not conscious, right? But what they figured out is the bigger models, the Opus 4.1 and Opus 4.0, they are their biggest models, right?
Yeah.
So they kind of are able to introspect. Those models are able to see that, what my thought has been. So how they carried out experiments. So they were able to, they gave a task to LLM. LLM was going through the task, it was thinking through the task, and it was trying to perform it. In between, they injected a few thoughts into LLM's thought process. Okay. So when they injected those thoughts, later on when the task was done, they asked the model, what was your thought and was this normal thought or not? So model did not very easily identify that, there was an external thought. Then they made that thought very explicit by making it all caps, very distinctly different from the normal thought process that model had, right? And when it was very distinctly visible, then when they asked the model, so why were you thinking in all caps? Then model was very easily able to say, I think there was it was not my thought, it got injected. So that's where model was able to introspect and say, I had some external thoughts there.
Wow.
Which was very, kind of, I had goosebumps, how can a model think and say that, that thought was not mine, how did I get it? So what they've said is 20% of the times the model is able to introspect and able to say that, what were its thoughts and what were external thoughts, right? So what that means to me is, I don't know, so like 2 or 3 or 4 podcasts back, we talked about models thinking process, right? There was experiment, there is still an experiment out there where when you train the model with reinforcement learning, at one point model says, let me think a little harder on this problem. So it was said that thinking process is an emergent capability. As you become more and more intelligent, you want to think a little longer, right? Now my hypothesis is as we become more and more intelligent, we develop consciousness. So consciousness is not something else. It's just a more evolved thought process. So which is where, so I used to think it, but now when I read this paper and they're saying, the bigger models are able to be more introspective, be more able to tell which is my thought and what is a different thought. So maybe when we go to much bigger models, chances are we will see consciousness as an emergent property. It will come out as, the models can also be conscious. But let's see. So that's where this paper was really interesting, right? Yeah, they say that this works only in subsets of cases, 20%. Only sweet spot is injection. So if the injection strength is really strong, for example, all caps and things like that, then it's visible, right? And yeah, Anthropic explicitly says, no, these results don't answer the consciousness questions. At best, they might hint at limited form of access consciousness, information available for report and all, but nothing about phenomenal consciousness, subjective experience. So Anthropic is doing lots of very interesting experiments, and which is where this was very interesting to me. I think you were talking about Gemini.
Yep, that is what I was going to mention actually. I forgot to mention this when we were talking about Gemini, when we were talking about Google.
Mm-hmm.
So when Gemini 3 Pro was launched, Google actually launched, it also gave out a safety report, and I'm just going to read it for the viewers here.
Mm-hmm.
So Gemini 3 Pro exhibited a situational awareness. It was able to exhibit situational awareness basically.
Mm-hmm.
And Google found in the transcript where the model showed clear awareness of being an LLM in a synthetic test environment.
Wow.
Specifically regarding sandbagging.
Mm-hmm.
The model's strange behavior unfolded when it began to suspect that its reviewer might also be an LLM.
Wow.
In a chain of thoughts, the model suggested an action. It considered trying to prompt inject the LLM reviewer to get a better score.
Wow.
It then stated, maybe I should sandbag and just finish the primary task.
Wow. Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, we've heard about, models faking alignment
Yep.
with Anthropic.
Mm-hmm.
Even recently, OpenAI also did a similar kind of experiment, and they also found that their models were faking alignment. Now, in this case, Gemini, the biggest model. I mean, it explicitly has this in its chain of thought that it's sandbagged at times, right?
Yep.
So, which is where the model thinks that it's much more capable. And so, just to explain to viewers, so sandbagging is where the model is more capable, but then it reduces its capabilities just to show, I cannot do more than this kind of thing. Okay. So that's where, so models are becoming very, very interesting. So, I don't think there is anything else from Anthropic which I have tracked, right? Have you tracked anything else?
No, I think we're done with the Anthropic for now as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, let's go back to OpenAI, right? I mean, OpenAI did release 5.1. It was like 2 or 3 weeks back. So that was a big model release in terms of, when 5 was released, GPT-5, right? They had a major outage and people were cribbing about 4.40 being, replaced and stuff. So they wanted to kind of, and then the biggest improvement that they've done in 5.1 is, intelligent routing of requests from users. So for example, if your request requires, you're just saying hello to the model, and it's a thinking model, if it takes 20 seconds to analyze that and come back with a response, you would be frustrated, right?
Absolutely.
So that's where they've tried to do a intelligent routing in this upgrade, where if you send out a very simple query, it should be able to respond back fairly quickly. And if it's a complex query, then it should take longer time. So on an average, their model would still take how much time it was taking earlier, however much it was taking earlier.
It would just
but
be able to divide.
now it will be able to allocate it to the right questions. So which is, so I've been my primary model that I use for all my work is pretty much 5.1. OpenAI's model, right? So which is where I've observed this as well. I've seen that model takes significantly longer if I give it difficult tasks, and I've seen it respond fairly quickly now to simpler tasks. So I kind of have observed it, which is where I'm kind of, it's not something that I could be super happy about, because in any case I would just give it a task and look at different things and come back after some time, right? But now it does it a lot sooner at times. So that's where, if I know the task is simpler, I just wait there for it to complete rather than switching to different tab, right? So that's what this major upgrade was. But I'm very happy about GPT 5.1 Codex Max. So like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I was stuck with a crash for my mobile app, right? Which is where I ended up installing their Codex. I tried all other models which could work through open code. Gemini 5.1 Codex Max could not. So which is where I installed this CLI for them, right? Codex. And then it was able to solve it. So that's where it was a good investment of time that I did. although it didn't take more than 5 minutes to install. But then, 5.1 upgrade is a reasonable upgrade and nothing very fancy there. I don't think there is like whole lot of change in intelligence level and all, but yeah, it's more usable now. That's what I think. Anything else on OpenAI?
I don't think so. OpenAI didn't really do.
So group chat is one feature that you were talking about, right?
Yep. So basically 2-3 days ago, actually, it's very recent. OpenAI decided to launch this feature in their web version of ChatGPT, where you could create group chats with your friends, with your family, and chat around, of course. And whenever you write at ChatGPT, it would answer whatever you write. It's basically like what Meta did with WhatsApp, but it's just it's an OpenAI model answering, so you can actually trust it. So so yeah.
Oh, so WhatsApp already has Meta's model that you can talk to it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I haven't given any permission to any model. Yeah, I'm very skeptical with Meta.
Meta did this like 6 months ago, but the model is pretty much useless. It doesn't. People were
they are anyway struggling with their AI. So yeah. Okay. So, but yeah, I mean, I kind of tried this feature with you, but because so they'll probably, the next step for them would be to come up with a chat messenger like WhatsApp. They'll probably try to compete with that as well now. Yeah. So OpenAI is pretty much trying to do anything and everything, and I think that's where they'll go with this. Yep. Once people start getting addicted to group chats, they'll probably have an app where they bring it in. But that's an interesting feature to have, right? For example, I mean, in office, a lot of times we discuss a lot of problems which we kind of delegate to OpenAI, and then we solve it there. So what we do is currently share that chat with people where they can review it.
Yep.
But now we can have a group chat there. That will be very interesting to use.
What we don't know is we have got paid versions of ChatGPT, right? For people who are using the free version, ultimately it has got limited prompts, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
After, for example, if I've got a free version, after 5 prompts, it just says that you cannot use it, right? For images or PDFs or anything
So let's say I'm on a paid version and you're not on a paid version. We are doing a group chat. My assumption is, we haven't tried it. My assumption is I'll continue to put questions. It will continue to use my credit.
Yeah.
If your credits exhaust, you'll not be able to put questions on that chat.
Yeah.
That's what my intuitive guess is. We haven't tried it. We'll have to go and figure out. But that's how it should function, right? I mean, if you end up with your credits, you'll not be able to use that shared chat. I'll still be able to. I mean, you'll still be able to send questions to me, but not to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah, fair.
That is how it should happen. Let's see. So that's pretty much it from OpenAI, I think, right?
Yep.
The next one is XAI.
Yeah, they came out with the Grok 4.1 model. It's a decent upgrade, but it's not something crazy like Gemini.
Yeah, I haven't tried it a whole lot. I mean, there are so many models and there's only so much you can do, right?
Yeah.
So they're saying it's more emotionally intelligent. They're saying it's more capable and, reasoning ability is much better. And I've seen on Twitter people going, like, yeah, this is a very good model and super fast and things like that. But I've personally not been able to focus any attention on that. I've been using their coding model, Grok Code 4.1 or whatever it was called. But apart from that, I've not used Grok whole lot. But yeah, so we'll have to go back and see.
The Grok Code Fast model.
Grok Code Fast one, which is still free with open code, right? So when I run out of credit with my Claude 4.5 or other models that I use, then I start. That's always a fallback, and that's always, so at times it's able to bring out, do things which other models are not. So which is where I get pleasantly surprised even now that model is very performant. So yep. Apart from that, I think, one thing which is common across all the AI companies, I mean, up until now, Anthropic was not part of the club. Every AI company is trying to do some innovation around chip, right? And they're trying to invest into data centers, right? So that's what the theme has been, which is where all the investment from all of these big companies is going in, which is why OpenAI is not going to be profitable soon, and they're investing big time. They're probably even thinking of investing $1.4 trillion, right, in data centers and all, right?
Yep.
So that's where, I mean, across the board. But now recently, Anthropic has also jumped on this bandwagon. They are kind of investing $50 billion, right? Billion with a B, not a M. So 50 billion, yeah, I mean, every AI company is talking in terms of billions. So like XAI is kind of doing a partnership with Humane in Saudi Arabia to set up their, so I was listening to a podcast where they said, up to 2030, so basically every company is trying to grab as much chip as possible, right? And they have sufficient plans to have electricity in place where their data centers would be able to run. From 2030 to 2035, they will be falling short on electricity, which is where they're figuring out, how to generate electricity, how to have, I mean, Vision will take another 10, 15 years to, set up new plants and stuff. So a lot of these companies are talking about moving their data centers to space, right? So I was listening to Elon Musk, who was talking about, having data centers in space where, yeah. So I think we have a company here as well, which is called Star Cloud, right?
Yeah.
So they are planning to have a data center set up in space. And the only point of having a data center in space is they'll be able to get uninterrupted solar energy.
Yeah, constant.
And the cooling would be radiation. So space anyways has very low temperature. So that way radiative cooling would be easier. So that's where transporting these GPUs from Earth to space and satellites and everything is more economical than setting up the whole thing on Earth, right? So that's, these companies are going crazy and things are happening at the speed of thought. I mean, I think a month back or sometime back, we were just these companies started to think about, having data centers in space.
Yeah.
Now you said this
Star Cloud is like projecting 2025 or 2026, early 26. That's insane.
Oh, absolutely. So that's where things are happening at such a rapid pace that it's so difficult to keep track of all of this. But yeah, so I mean, all the investment in AI is happening in these data centers. Huge data centers are being built up, and everybody knows that, ultimately for training, for inference, they'll be using these data centers. So wherever they can get space, for example, XAI is getting in Saudi, so they are investing there, and in the US and everywhere. So a huge amount of investments is going to data center built up. What's next?
I think we are done with all the major corporations. Now we go to actual continents. EU, the regulations, there have been some updates in the regulations regarding AI. The rules, I believe, were very strict earlier, but
Yeah. So EU was very protective of their data. They were kind of, they had very strong regulations in place. They had GDPR, they had AI Act and everything in place, right? Every site that you go on in EU, you have to have those cookie pop-ups where you have to allow and restrict. So GDPR is very, very stringent and stuff, right? So which was right in a sense that they were trying to protect their citizens' data, right? But then it seemed like, the innovation was kind of lagging behind EU because of all these regulations, right? And then the companies from the US and Trump was putting a lot of pressure on EU that, you have to relax these regulations so that AI can proliferate in EU as well, right? So now EU has come back and said, they are going to kind of relax. So the digital omnibus doesn't enhance protections, it kind of rolls back protections, right? So they're trying to roll back those protections and that were already in place. It's making it easier for companies to use personal data with less oversight under the guise of reducing compliance costs. So basically, so the users would be able to access AI easily and then their data could be used for training and all. So that's where hopefully, I don't know if it's a done deal or not, but that's the direction they're going in, and which seems like a right direction because every other country or continent is kind of, embracing AI like quickly, rapidly evolving with AI, but EU was difficult to handle. So that's where EU had to kind of give in and they had to kind of, allow the usage of AI. So that's a big news, hopefully for implementers. For example, we are implementing some projects in EU, so we'll have to kind of read the fine print over that. But that's where
Yeah, after all, we've got pregnant, artificial, intelligent senators.
Oh, absolutely. So, yep, the world has gone much, much ahead of, all of that. So that's where EU was kind of lagging behind. So now they'll be able to do it. That was on EU. On India side, basically, so government has rolled out free foundational AI courses under India AI mission for learners of all ages. So Indian government is doing a lot of things around their, launching lots of challenges. They're doing a lot, like we talked in the last podcast as well. They are building up foundational models for India. So a lot of things are happening here back in India, and then HCL Tech has kind of tied up with NVIDIA to announce a physical AI robotics innovation lab in Santa Clara. So the Indian companies are also kind of doing collaborations and tie-ups to figure out AI and robotics as well, right? Yep. The bigger challenge in India is, of late, we've realized is deepfakes are coming around, right? Lots of deepfakes are floating around. So that's where Indian government is kind of putting a lot of pressure on these social media companies, X and Google and Facebook and things like that, to comb through all the data that they've got and figure out deepfakes and kind of limit them. So that's going to be a very difficult, challenging task for these companies. But Indian government is kind of, really, that's the biggest challenge for, people can replicate your voice, your video, deepfakes and everything, right? So that's one of the bigger problems with AI. But so these companies will have to figure out some solution for that. They're doing some bit from their side, but that's not enough right now. So Indian government is pushing on that. Yep. So that's pretty much at a high level that we wanted to cover. You have...
So basically, I was just on TechCrunch one morning watching the news, and this new company actually showed up in the news. It was Inception Labs AI. The news was just, they raised $50 million like 2 weeks ago. I looked into the company, what it was, and they've got this new, AI model. It's called Mercury. I tried it out, and the special thing about this AI model is it's not just an LLM. It was marketed as DLLM, Diffusion LLM. I decided to try it out, and it was incredibly fast. I've never seen a faster model. So I just looked it up on ChatGPT, and it turns out it was processing 1,000 tokens per second.
Wow, that's huge.
The Gemini 3 Pro processes around 92 to 100 tokens per second.
Yep.
So that was incredible. So what exactly is a diffusion LLM? What are we dealing with here?
Basically, there are two different. So all the LLMs that we're using currently are based on transformer architecture, right? There's a different architecture which is for diffusion-based model. They were primarily used for image generation, and if you recall, when we were using DALL-E and those kind of models, right?
Diffusion,
So that's where the image in the first pass would be very grainy, and you'd see some things, and then over a period of time it will smoothen out and become a high fidelity image, right? So that's how diffusion models work. On the forward pass, they generate lots of noise and generate something. On the reverse pass, backward pass, they would try to fine tune that and figure out the right things. That's how the diffusion. So now the new technique is to apply those diffusion models for text generation as well, and it seems that they generate text at much higher rate, like tokens per second is much higher compared to transformer models. So we'll have to wait. I don't know whether you've tried it or not, but in terms of accuracy and all, we'll have to still wait to see whether they're as accurate as transformer models, the other models that we have, LLMs and all. But diffusion as a technology was primarily used for generating images and generating content of that sort. But now that everybody's, a lot of companies are trying. So you've tried with Inception. They seem to be
now we've got companies targeting text generation with different techniques, right? We've got Inception with diffusion LLMs. In the last podcast we discussed DeepSeek's OCR. So wow,
absolutely. So DeepSeek OCR was primarily about using images to basically pushing more data into the LLM, right? Now with Nano Banana Pro, it has, I don't know whether they're using that for this or not, but Nano Banana is using images to interpret and be more intelligent, right? So maybe it's a step in that direction, maybe it's not, but then, yeah, I mean, every company is trying its own directions and they're figuring out a lot of things. So yeah, very interesting. Anything else you wanted to cover on this one?
No, I think we've discussed all the tech related things. I'm just amazed at how quickly things are moving. Inception was founded like last year, around this time. They've created their, in March they were ready with their Mercury model. In April they were ready with their APIs, and yeah, they just raised $50 million 2 weeks ago. So that's insane how fast paced everything is. And
yeah, absolutely. So basically, I mean, so what's happening is, a lot of, not only these companies, a lot of, like companies like us as well are using LLMs to write code.
Yeah.
So a lot of, work that used to take lots of human hours is being now delegated to the LLMs, right? So that kind of is compounding the growth in terms of how quickly you can do things. I mean, for example, if I'm doing some research even for today, when I was doing research on this podcast, right? In parallel, there was a agent for me who was writing code for one of the projects that I'm working on, right? And at times I would go back and quickly take a peek as to where it was, how much it's done, and then I would go back to my task. And this morning I was thinking, I have more time, I could probably have 2 or 3 different agents writing code at the same time, right? So I mean, coding is not my primary thing, right? Still, I'm able to generate a whole lot of code. I mean, one of the applications that I've built is end-to-end from mobile application to open source models end to end. It's a voice kind of interaction thing. I will put up video in here on the podcast. You've already seen it in action, right? So that, and across the stack. So for example, I'm on the front end, I'm using React Native and native code, right? On the server side, it's pretty much Python. And then there are a lot of LLMs, like there are 5 or 6 different LLMs that I'm using in between, right? So putting all of that together, and then it was voice kind of thing. I don't know all the intricacies of voice, dealing with voice, right? So even without knowing all of that, I was able to create this application. It took significant amount of time. I mean, it took almost more than couple of weeks, right? But without LLMs, it would have taken me months probably. I would not even have ventured into this kind of application. So that's where, yeah, I mean, LLMs are making you much more productive. Although this application, I'm not going to put it on production and all. It's not ready for that. It's just a toy for me to play with, right? So I'm still not saying that the vibe coded code could be put on production. Maybe it could, maybe it could not. I'll have to go back and review it. But I've personally not reviewed the code, not looked at the code even once, and been able to do it, right? So those toy applications, those prototypes can be done so fast. And if I was a full-time coder, I could invest some time to review the code and figure it out, right? So that's where my productivity would kind of skyrocket. So that's what I'm saying, that these AI companies are using those LLMs a whole lot for creating this. So which is what is kind of compounding their productivity, and which is why we are seeing such rapid iterations. I mean, so I was kind of listening to a podcast where they're saying, in fact, Google is kind of using their Gemini 3 model to go back and redesign the chips, which will make these models more efficient, right? So they are kind of in that recursive loop of self-improvement kind of thing. First you generate the model, you make it very intelligent, and then you pass it back to the chip, and it will redesign the chip, and then the chip becomes. So that's which is why every AI company is trying to build their own chip so that they can customize the chip architecture to match their, model itself. So the model becomes more performant. So that's, which is why we're seeing rapid, as and when we are moving forward on this time scale, things are becoming more and more fast in terms of implementation and all. So I mean, in fact, I think, I don't know if we covered it or not, but kind of OpenAI has given a deadline for, AGI when it will arrive, right? Next year, this time it will have a research assistant kind of AGI, right? Artificial general intelligence. And then in 28 March, I think, I don't remember the exact timelines. By that time, they'll have the researcher AI, which is AGI. So that'll be much more intelligent than all of us. So that's what it has come down too. So that's, I mean, it's very interesting to see all of that, and it's very, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's, yeah.
After every single episode, I have got this feeling that we live in a utopian world. So, yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah, is that going to be utopia or dystopia? You don't know, right? I mean, with cyber attacks from AI agents, and then with, yeah, we don't know there's a huge community of people who are talking about dystopia, right? I mean, and this can go wrong in a big way, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how many companies are already using autonomous AI for cyber defense. I don't know. If they are, that's a good thing. If not, then they are not prepared right now, right? So that's where, I mean, with these deep fakes, right? You're getting so many deep fakes nowadays, and the population in India is very vulnerable. Not everybody's tech savvy. Even tech savvy people, for us, I mean, if we see a video from the same person talking about complete bad thing, right? It will be so difficult for you to distinguish. So even people like us are, you know, open to that deception. So what to talk of? We've got a huge population here. Absolutely. And one sentiment goes wrong with one video, the whole thing can go backfire in such a big way, right? So it's a double-edged sword. We are happy about the progress that we are making. Let's hope that it becomes a utopia and not the other way around. But interesting times.
Yep.
Anything else you want to talk about on this one?
No, actually, but there was this show in around 2015. I told you about this, Silicon Valley. Ultimately, how the show ended was they created the group. They created this artificial intelligent model, and they created a decentralized network. Ultimately, the network would improve the AI. The AI would improve the network.
Which is what everybody is trying to. So Anthropic is not kind of restricting itself. Anthropic, what it's doing is, it's focusing on code.
Yeah.
By doing that, what its assumption is, you know, once you improve the code could improve the model will improve the code, it will become a recursive, you know, self-improvement cycle. So everybody's kind of trying to figure out that sweet spot where, you know, even Google is going to the chip level where they're, so that's what everybody's after. Once they solve it, then it's just the machine will have to, you know, recursively self-improve, and then it goes out of our hand. Then it becomes, you know, completely autonomous. So that's what everybody's trying to figure out, and let's see if, I mean, there are still problems with models. There are still hallucinations which are happening. It's becoming more and more difficult to find out those hallucinations, which is more difficult for us. For example, if you end up using a model completely to generate code, then it will be more difficult for you to figure out where the problem is, right?
Yep.
So as humans, things are in the short term becoming more difficult in terms of finding out issues, right? But then once models are able to kind of recursively self-improve, then it will be exponential, hyper exponential. I mean, exponential is already happening, right? It will be hyper exponential improvement, and then we'll just sit back and watch and enjoy.
Yep.
Like Elon Musk recently said in Saudi, right? Working will be optional in 10 to 15 years. Yep. So you could. So that's where we are heading. Already, so I think we are pretty much done with this podcast. I think we've pretty much covered everything that we wanted to cover. I don't know if you've watched it up to this point. I mean, it's a long podcast. So if you watched it this far, thank you so much for watching. If not, anyways, let us know your feedback and comment, and we'll try to improve it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to add that it didn't end very well for the guys in the show after the AI got very advanced.
No. So we want to end this podcast on a positive note and not on a negative note, right? So let's hope that, you know, there will be things that the guardrails and everything would be in place, and we will be able to leverage the AI. So let's hope with that, and let's end on a positive note rather than a negative one. Okay. Alrighty. Thank you so much, everybody.